What up, people? It's Nickopz here, and today I want to talk about how I feel about the fact that MK11 is not going to be at EVO 2020. Now, in case you don't know, EVO is the biggest fighting game tournament of the year. Like, flat out, no debate. It is 100% the biggest fighting game tournament of the year. It's like the Super Bowl for fighting games, if you don't know what EVO is. And it's been ever since MK9, from what I've looked at, NRS has not missed an EVO. But now in 2020, they are not going to be at EVO. And there could be multiple different reasons for that. And we're going to be talking about that in this video. Now, just warning you, this video isn't going to be a planned, thought out video because this whole situation is messy. And I might be bringing up multiple different points to connect the dots with this whole situation. And I wanted to wait to make this video until there was more information, but as we see now that there's not more information. It's just not going to be an EVO, and we're not getting a reason why, so I'm going to be speculating why I think it's not at EVO. Now, first of all, what people need to realize is, how can I put it? EVO has obvious bias towards NRS. It's very obvious that they don't like NRS because there has been plenty of stories on people talking about how horrible NRS has treated, not NRS, how horrible EVO has treated NRS. From them having to finish a whole tournament with hundreds of people in a day to them sitting on the floor watching people play because they didn't even get a big monitor to where everybody could watch. So yeah, EVO has treated NRS in general horribly. They have. So that brings the first reason that it couldn't be left off. They could simply have left MK11 off because they just simply don't like the game. I think that's the least possible outcome, but it can be a reason, because if they went so far to having people sit on the floor, the actual floor, while all these other games got chairs and a big old monitor, like, I'm not saying it'll be so far for them not to just have left the game off because they didn't like it. Now, I don't think they did that, but I'm just saying it could be a possibility, because honestly, if you're a company trying to make money, you are not going to let that influence your decision, how you personally feel about the game, because whether people like it or not, MK, NRS in general, they bring the numbers because they have a huge fan base. So that's basically what it did, and the numbers brought in the money. So that could be one reason, but I think that's the least possible outcome, is they just didn't like the game. The next reason is NRS might have took it off. Now, they could have got approved, and NRS could have just been like, nah, we've heard from our players how horribly you treated us, so we're just going to do our own thing and not go to EVO. That could also be a possible outcome. I think that is most likely the possible outcome, because if you look at it, NRS is looked at differently in the fighting game community. It's kind of looked at as, the little kid, where there's like all these grown-ups, and MK is a little kid there that just needs to, be quiet, don't disturb the grown-ups or anything. Who made a reference to that? Shijinky Dink, a fellow YouTuber, he made a reference to how, MK11 is perceived in the fighting game community, and he couldn't be more right about that. It's literally like the other games are the grown-ups at the table, and MK is like, hey, be quiet. People are like to MK, hey, be quiet. You don't interrupt the grown-ups. That's how MK is looked at in the fighting game community. And with how everything has went with Street Fighter and the other main fighting games, it's less like that now, because the release of Street Fighter 5 was a freaking disaster, so they can't act all high and mighty, anymore. But that's just what I want to make about that. That's what I just want to talk about that, because Street Fighter, we're going to be bringing that up later in the video. So yeah, MK has been kind of looked down on in other fighting games, but the difference with MK is NRS has money. NRS can literally just be like, screw Evo and make their own big tournament. And this is what I think they should do: make their own like tournament for all of their games. They have so much money to the point they could do that. Like, do y'all know how much money freaking NRS has? They don't need Evo. They can go make their own tournament. They can do that. So they might be funneling all their money in the Combo Breaker, trying to make it, you know, as good as it can be. Because Combo Breaker has always been the tournament that has catered to NRS and treated NRS very well. So they couldn't just be doing that. But honestly, if NRS wanted to, even though they're looked down on, they still got money. They could go off and make their own. Now, I'm saying they're looked down on in the fighting game scene. They could go off and make their own tournament. They don't need Evo for publicity. They don't need Evo to get people to play their game. They absolutely just don't need it. They could do their own thing because they have money, like I'm saying. So that could be another reason, is they just were like, yeah, we heard y'all treated us horrible, so we're going to take our money elsewhere and we're going to be doing this. Because that's another thing. We don't know how much people have to pay to get a spot at EVO, or do they just get a spot? So that could be another outcome. Another thing, does MK11 deserve to be at EVO? Now this is going to be probably going to throw some people off what I say about this. But MK11 does not deserve to be at EVO, first of all, in its current state. But that's how I personally feel, but that's not saying much, because Street Fighter for multiple years did not deserve to be at EVO. That game is just now finally good after 4 years. It took them 4 years to make Street Fighter good, and that game has been at every EVO since Street Fighter V has came out. I don't know about the other games, but that game has been at every EVO, and Street Fighter V has been horrible for 4 years. The game is just now getting good, and it has been at EVO. So Street Fighter hasn't deserved to be at EVO either, and it was still at EVO. Like, this game, MK11, has been out for 10 months and is not in a good state. But Street Fighter, in its 10-month state, was even worse. So, about it not deserving to be at EVO, that's not a big deal, because like I said at the beginning of the video, if I did say it, but if I didn't, I'm saying it now. NRS brings the numbers. Numbers bring the money. So whether it deserves to be at EVO or not doesn't matter, because it brings in people. And we saw that with the big crowd last year, so it's obvious. So yeah, that's one thing we need to also talk about. Well, I also need to mention, yes, it's an unfinished game currently that I don't think deserves to be at EVO, but that doesn't matter when they have so many people willing to go and give EVO money to go. That doesn't matter when they had Street Fighter with a game that had a horrible, disgusting release. Like, if Street Fighter did not have its legacy, that game would not have survived. That game was so trash on launch, and so trash for many years. And they're obviously biased towards Street Fighter because they let that game stay. So yeah, that's the thing about Street Fighter. Like, EVO, from what I've seen, they are obviously biased towards Street Fighter and Marvel. At this point, I think NRS should just go ahead and honestly do what I said in the middle of the video and just make their own yearly tournament. I feel like it would be really good for the community and them, and they wouldn't have to worry about the whole EVO situation. They honestly see that, well, they obviously see that EVO don't care about NRS. So, you know, NRS got their own money. Like I was saying, they could go do their own thing. They really could. You know, they don't have to be worried about EVO or what EVO wants to do. They can just do what they want. They really could. And I feel like if they did that, that would be really good for the people who wanted to play the older games too. They would have a reason to. I genuinely believe that people would pick up, you know, MK9, MK10, and just to go to the yearly event. I really do think people would do that. And it would give people a reason to play those games. Like I said, it would just be a very nice thing for them to do. and it would benefit them in the community. But if they don't want to do that, they could partner up with another tournament and do it that way. The best one I could see is Combo Breaker, because Combo Breaker has always done right by NRS. So if they just wanted to, funnel all of their resources into Combo Breaker, they could do that if they really just wanted to. So yeah, that's how I feel about the whole situation. Honestly, the whole situation is just messy and not right, because no matter how you look at it, MK got the numbers, and no, I keep saying MK. NRS got the numbers, so the fact that they're not at EVO is kind of ridiculous, no matter how you look at it. So there's definitely something behind the whole situation. I hope more information comes out about this whole situation. I really do. But it's looking like we're not going to get any information. So yeah, it is what it is. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my Twitch and my Patreon, and Nickopz out.